In 1948, the old Ealing Studios released their classic comedy, Whiskey Galore. It was about a consignment of whiskey sunk off the Scottish coast and the antics of a distinguished group of character actors who tried to smuggle it ashore. Tonight, we're going to look at another story set in that same wild and remote part of the country. Once again, it's a story about smugglers. But there the similarity ends. This time, it's a true story. 40 years on, the contraband isn't whiskey anymore. And it most certainly isn't a comedy. The story begins off the northwest coast of Scotland in the summer of 1989. Customs officers had been picking up rumours of shadowy vessels sailing close to the shore under the cover of darkness. They feared the imminent arrival of a large shipment of drugs, but they had no idea of where or when it might be smuggled ashore. The task facing Scottish customs men that summer was enormous. East to west, the winding, twisting coastline they had to cover was more than 4,000 miles long, and every beach, every cove, was a potential landing
point. Sheerway. That's my lady. And a beautiful old girl she is, too.
I saw her tied up outside. Is she a schooner?
Yeah, 50-footer, old boy. 50 glorious feet. I should be sorry to see her go.
You're selling her?
Yes. The fellow who's buying her bought her without even looking her over. I wanted 100,000 for her. He said righto right away without even batting an eyelid. Didn't want to haggle me down a penny. And he was a Scotsman, would you believe?
How was he going to pay for it?
Cash! The whole lot!
Tonight's story could easily have ended here. An innocuous chat in a Spanish bar, thousands of miles from the Scottish coast. Except for two things. First, the Major's friend was a police officer, a detective with the Cleveland Constabulary. And second, the policeman was suspicious enough of the prospective buyer to make a few inquiries when he returned to work in Britain. The buyer had left the name John Holt and a mobile phone number, but the detective discovered the phone was registered under a different name, Mickey MacLeod. Intrigued, he looked up the name on computer records. Now things were starting to get interesting. MacLeod was a name that meant something. Along with a list of other suspects, he was someone Scottish customs men had asked to be kept informed about.
Thank you, my angel.
Nothing had ever been proved, but their intelligence indicated that he may well be involved in big-time drugs. All they knew for the moment was that he was living somewhere on Spain's Costa del Crime. The new information on MacLeod was sent to the Glasgow office of senior customs investigator Michael Stannard.
Well, we've got Mickey MacLeod out in Spain. We've got him buying a yacht out there. And we've got rumours that someone's going to bring a shipment of drugs in through the Scottish coast.
The decision on what would happen next rested with Stannard's boss, John Clifford, head of customs investigations for Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Right, let's go for it. Let's get out to Mallorca and find MacLeod. Now, my guess is that he's probably booked in a hotel in Palma somewhere to be near the Sheerway. And let's check the airlines here. I'd imagine if he is planning something, he'd have visited the Highlands recently.
I've checked. Nothing under MacLeod, I hope.
Check out the car hire firms too. He may not have bothered to get himself a false driving licence.
12 meses, señores.
It didn't take long for MacLeod to surface, as predicted, in Palma, Mallorca, where Spanish police agreed to keep an eye on him. The afternoon was to prove very productive.
Don't you worry about it. That's all together. booked your room in here for the time being, okay? All right.
So I'm just going to take a leak, all right?
Yeah, sure.
A check with the hotel guest list revealed the stranger with MacLeod was Chris Howarth. He was an Englishman living in Ullapool, a fishing port on the northwest coast of Scotland. But what was even more interesting was his occupation. He was a deep-sea diver. Howarth returned to Scotland, followed a few weeks later by MacLeod under an assumed name. It was now March 1990. Stannard had been right about car hire. A check revealed that MacLeod had been hiring Hertz cars from Edinburgh, Heathrow and Inverness airports at regular intervals over the past 6 months. This time, however, the customs men were ready for him. MacLeod's destination came as no great surprise to Stannard's team. As they suspected, all roads were now leading to the tiny fishing village of Ullapool.
Oscar 3 to control. MacLeod has just met with Howarth.
You know, Chris, it's almost worth leaving the sun behind for a good plate of Scottish grub. Chip?
No thanks, Mickey. How long you over for, then?
Just a few days. Have you got a video recorder, Chris?
Yeah, why?
I want you to watch a bit of telly.
What are you on about?
The Duty Man. Remember it?
What's that?
It's a TV programme about customs men chasing nasty smugglers.
What of it?
There's faces of their surveillance men in these tapes, and I want you to know them as well as you know your ugly mug when you look at it in the mirror in the morning. It's just a thought, Chris. I say, you can't be too careful these days.
The surveillance team kept one step ahead of MacLeod. When he arrived at a Highlands hotel, there were already 2 men inside waiting to keep an eye on him.
Great.
2 malts, please.
Sure. No can do.
MacLeod was accompanied by someone the team hadn't seen before. Yet another new face.
Thanks very much. Can you ask him who those 2 guys are over there?
Who are those 2 guys over there, Jim?
I don't know. Why?
Find out for me, would you?
I'm going to ask him, eh? How's it going?
Oh, not bad.
Can I get you anything?
Aye, okay, we'll have a couple of whiskies to see us on our way.
What brings you 2 out here? Business?
No, pleasure. Aye, we're up here for the hill walking. Now, why do you want to know?
I don't. Fellow over there does.
The near miss in the hotel unnerved Stannard, and the next day he ordered his team to stop the close-range surveillance. So when MacLeod and Howarth left Ullapool for a more remote part of the coast, driving along narrow, deserted roads, Stannard's team broke off altogether rather than risk being spotted.
There it is.
It was a decision Stannard had to take. It would prove costly later on.
It's perfect. There's rocks in the channel to keep the other ships away.
And you can't see it from the land unless you're right on top of it. We've sorted out a good hiding place among the rocks down there. There's only one approach road. If anyone tries following us, we'll spot them a mile off.
Yeah, one good blast of snow and we're completely cut off though, eh?
Oh, Mickey. This isn't Spain.
Yeah, I suppose we're gonna have to take that chance. Well, we'll need a dinghy to meet the boat offshore, bring us stuff in. Okay?
Jeannie! Jeannie! Don't be so stupid, girl! And cut!
Back in Ullapool, Stannard's team were given a brief respite from the strain of watching MacLeod without being watched themselves. Mingling with a BBC crew filming a drama in the town, the team could conceal themselves with ease as they went about their business. MacLeod continued to move around the town, making contact with various locals.
Robbie Barnes, a local skipper with an intimate knowledge of the western coast. He can guide them to their landing point. Ian Ray, a mechanic. David Forrest, a lorry driver. Ray's the one he met at the Glen Isla Hotel. Now, these two pick up the stuff from the coast and drive it to its destination. Probably in London. Chris Harth, a deep-sea diver. He's known as Crazy Chris. They reckon he went a bit potty after he got the bends on one of his dives. Now, he knows the coastline, but it's my guess they need his diving skills. At some point, they'll need him in the water. Why? I don't yet know, but these are the four main contacts that MacLeod made in Ullapool.
Well, put them together with the sheer wake within spitting distance of Morocco, and he's got everything he needs to bring in a yacht load of cannabis.
And I don't think it's too far off. We heard this morning that MacLeod is back in Spain. When we checked with Hertz, what did they say, Billy?
He did almost 2,400 miles before he handed the car back.
What do you think? At least one trip to London, eh?
Oh, gotta have done with that sort of mileage.
He's making his final plans. That last trip was just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Pretty soon now, he's gonna load it up, sail it around the Iberian Peninsula, and land it right in our laps. Keep a watch out for anything suspicious in this area. But my money is on the sheer wake.
This is the last call for connecting flight 405. Would all passengers please proceed to boarding gate 12?
Mike Stannard.
Sorry to disturb you, Mike, but it looks like we're in business. Arthur is on his way out to Spain. He's flying out tonight. He's with another guy who we think is Noel Hawkins.
Hawkins? Who's he?
Well, he's a new face. Looks like a last-minute recruitment. He's from Ullapool, another diver.
Okay, put a 24-hour watch on the sheer wake and sit tight. If they're on their way out to Spain, it's to meet up with MacLeod and the sheer wake.
Already done.
Spanish surveillance men stationed themselves by the sheer wake and waited. And waited. And waited. But the rush of adrenaline turned to anxiety over the next few days, and still nobody showed at the sheer wake. The team were diligent. They kept up an intense surveillance. But they were watching the wrong boat. They'd been tricked. The sheer wake had undoubtedly been bought by MacLeod to transport drugs, but not these drugs.
She'll be here any minute now.
MacLeod had a different plan for this shipment, one that was ingenious.
Over there! Come on, my beauty! Let's have it! Come on!
While the customs men waited for Howarth and Hawkins in Spain, they were on board another ship entirely, off the Central American coast, where their diving skills were about to be put to good use. In Britain, the customs men were starting to smell the proverbial rat.
Oh, well, I don't get it. Why are they waiting so long to make their move? I mean, no one's come anywhere near the shearwake.
Something's not right, Graham. I mean, Howarth and Hawkins left Scotland 8 days ago? What did we say, 4 days? 5 days maximum before they showed up at the shearwake? So where the hell are they?
After retrieving the drugs from the ocean, Howarth and Hawkins headed for Britain. But instead of sailing round the Iberian Peninsula as the customs men expected, they took the Atlantic route from Central America direct to the northwest coast of Scotland. There they weighed anchor and landed the contraband unopposed and undetected.
Home sweet bloody hell!
Well, I've been ill in the morning.
The next morning, the customs team realised for the first time something had gone horribly wrong.
Somehow they have made the drop already. Howarth and Hawkins are back in Ullapool, and they didn't get their tans sitting indoors. Now, we've checked the airports and the ports, and they didn't enter the country legitimately, so they must have come in with the drugs. So far, they haven't made contact with their couriers, Forrest and Ray, so the drugs must be stashed somewhere, waiting to be picked up. Any word on MacLeod yet?
Nothing, Mike. He's gone to ground.
Okay, so let's concentrate on Ray and Forrest. If we play this right, those two are going to lead us to the drugs.
A warning that severe weather is setting in from the Northwest Highlands. Some coastal roads are already becoming dangerous, and police are warning motorists not to venture out unless they're...
Delta 5, we're in business. Forest on the move. Request backup. Over.
Control to Delta 5. Message received.
You're standing left onto the A9. Repeat, left onto the A9. I'm going to have to break off.
Oscar 3, I've got him. He's heading south.
Delta 6, target still going south. Looks like he's heading for Pitlochry.
Oscar 5 to control. He's just pulling into Pitlochry car park. Morning.
Hey.
Looks like the weather's taking a turn for the worst.
Uh-huh.
Are you up here on Christmas holiday?
No, I'm doing a bit of hill walking. See ya.
Yeah.
Ray was driving the van. The surveillance operation was going perfectly. But one thing Stannard couldn't control was the weather. It whipped up into a near hurricane, and Forrest and Ray were forced to abandon their trip. Stannard was sure they'd been on their way to the coast to pick up the drugs from the secret landing point. But once again, the contraband had eluded him. 10 days later, Stannard was dealt an even worse blow. Forrest and Ray slipped out of their houses under cover of darkness, and hampered by the remoteness of the location, the surveillance team lost them. Now Stannard didn't know where the drugs were, and he didn't know where Forrest and Ray were either.
God, I can't believe our luck. They hired their van from a different company.
I think we've still got a few hours before they leave the Highlands. After that, we've lost the buggers. Look, get onto the local police. Ask them to report any hire vehicles spotted between Pitlochry and the coast.
As dawn broke, a local police sergeant was going to a computer course in Inverness. He saw a van parked in a lay-by with a name on the side. He thought it said Baxter's of Forfar.
Can you tell me whose name the van is booked in, please? Thanks very much. It's him. The van was hired by Forrest.
Corey Shalach. Corey Shalach. Here. That's great. They're still deep in the Highlands. Okay, I want every available body south of Corey Shalach. Thank you.
The trap was set. Cars were stationed along the entire route. The strain on manpower was so great that at one junction, traffic warden Sandy Bennett found himself press-ganged into service.
It must be a big one. Never known them to throw so many people into the one job.
Do you think so?
Hello, this looks like a hire van.
Baxter's of Forth. Oh, that's it. That's the one.
Oscar 2-3 to control. Target vehicle located. They're heading towards Perth on the A9, 2.5 miles south of Dawali. Over.
Oscar 2-3, follow at a distance and await backup.
Oh dear.
The sighting was crucial. By now, Ray and Forrest had picked up their precious cargo from the coast. Another hour and they would have been out of the Highlands and out of Stannard's grasp.
Oscar 2-3, backup is with you now. Go past the target. Go past. Over.
Here we go.
Oh, I've always hated bloody traffic wardens.
Hands off the wheel, please.
But as Stannard surveyed his prize back at the local station, he was disappointed. If this was cannabis, then it could only be a fraction of the whole consignment.
It's cocaine!
The haul was better than they could ever have imagined. Loaded into the back of the van and wrapped in bags with Gucci labels was cocaine with a street value of £101 million. It was Britain's biggest ever cocaine seizure. Stannard's team swooped on the rest of the gang and quickly discovered the secret landing point at Alderney Bay in Sutherland. There, forensic samples linked the two divers, Howarth and Hawkins, to the drugs found in the back of the van. The amount of cocaine the gang had smuggled was enough to flood the UK market and still leave enough left over to distribute throughout continental Europe. The sentences handed down reflected this. On May the 30th, 1991, Howarth and Hawkins were found guilty of importing and supplying a Class A drug. They were sentenced to 25 and 15 years imprisonment, respectively. Burns was found guilty of importation and got 15 years, while Forrest and Ray admitted possession and received 10 and 7 years, respectively. But the story ends on a note of disappointment. Several months after the arrest of his accomplices, MacLeod, the Mr. Big, was caught in Spain. But within days of his extradition to Scotland to face trial, he escaped. He's still on the run. Let's hope it's a short one. Good evening.